So today we're going to talk about a different topic. First time we discussed some geometry, volumes and parameters and areas. Today we're going to see, spoke about units last time. When we measure, for example, length or volume or area, we used some units, inches, miles, meters, and so on. Today we're going to see other units of measurements. So length is just one of the things we can measure, but there's other things we can measure like weight and as we saw last time, volume and so on. We measure time. We're gonna go over different units and different metric systems, and also we'll see how to convert from one unit to another, or maybe one system to another, for example, meters to feet. So some countries use meters as their standard measure of length. Here we use feet mostly. Also, some people use grams and kilograms. Here we use pounds and ounces and so on. So we'll see different measurements of that, different units, and how to basically convert from one system to another or from one unit to another using the ratios we discussed before. So let's, since we did the length last time, let's talk a little bit more about the units of measuring length. So length basically, or the distance. So when we measure basically just the distance between 2 points A and B. Just the distance, not the area, not the volume as we saw last time. It's just the distance, the linear distance between A and B. And there are many different units and different systems to measure that. So let's start first with the ones we use here. Most commonly unit used for length here is, depending on actually how long the distance or the object you're trying to measure. So the most commonly used one is inches. That's the basic one. So we have an inch. What else? What other measures or other units of length we use to measure distances or length? So this inches, after inches, a higher unit. Or what's the next unit after inches that we use to measure?
Feet.
Yeah, feet. That's right. Inch. Yeah, foot. And then
it's yards.
Yards, exactly. Okay. What else? Any other higher units? Think about traveling from one city to another. The distance between two cities, for example. What do we measure that in? We measure in inches or yards? It's too small, right? So what do we use to measure distances between, for example, two cities?
Miles.
Miles. Very good. So miles is better one to use. So we have yard, foot, you have mile, and these are basically the main ones we use to measure the length. This is the American system, which is not the international systems of unit or the metric system. For the metric system or the international metric system of unit, we use different, we don't use inches, feet, yards, and so on, but use a different, we use different units. So the unit is meters, or the smallest version of it is millimeters. So we have meters, mainly meters and kilometers. So instead of inch, they use meter or millimeters. Millimeters is the smallest one. So a meter, we're going to see the conversion. How much is a meter in terms of these? Let's see that. We're going to see the conversion in a moment. So here again, we use these. But other countries, for example, in Europe, they use meters instead of feet or yards. First, let's see the conversions between these. See, just within the American system, let's see how to convert inches into feet or feet into yards or yards into inches and so on. And later, we'll see how to convert between two different systems, for example, from yards to meters or from meters to inches and so on. So meter, we have centimeter, which is the closest to inches, centimeter. Okay, so that's the length. Later we will see, so length. We will see also weight, measures of weight. We did the volume last time. I'm going to do some of the volume units as well. And even time, units of time, which are universal. We're going to see some of those also maybe at the end. So for the length, we have these, the main ones. Now let's see the conversion between these. So maybe between feet and inches. What's the conversion? What is the formula between inches and feet?
12 inches is 1 foot.
Exactly. So 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. That's right. So these are the basic ones. These are normally we need to remember those, memorize them so we can convert. So inches to feet, that's the relationship. What about the relationship between foot and a yard? Between a foot and a yard, what's the conversion or the relationship? 1 yard. So 1 yard is 1 yard is actually 3 feet. 1 yard equals 3 feet. You just make sure on that.
Professor, this unit is going to be on the final exam.
Yep, everything we cover will be in the final exam. This is our last lecture. Next week we will have the exam and also the first half we're going to review if you have any questions from the review sheet. Okay, so 1 foot is 12 inches and 1 yard is 3 feet. Now let's see the miles, maybe the yards to miles or foot to a mile. If we know one, we can convert to the other. So let's do yards to miles. Or miles to yards, the other way around. So these are the basic ones. If you know the basic ones, we can convert to any other units we want to convert to. So miles. So 1 mile is about 1760 yards. 1 mile, which is the longest distance here, equals about 1760 yards. So we know the conversion from one to the other. If we, based on that, we can convert any units here. We can convert, for example, from inches to miles. If we want to, we would have to convert the inches to feet first, and then feet to yards, and yards to miles, and so on. These are the main ones, okay? The American metric system. The measures of length, those are basically the ones we use mostly. Again, depending how long or how far the objects or the distances we're trying to measure, we choose the right unit. So you always want to use the appropriate unit. For example, if you're trying to measure, let's say, The length of an object that's small, maybe let's say computer screen or something, you would use inches. You're not going to use foot or feet. But if you're trying to measure something else, for example, the height of a person, or maybe the height of a building, you would probably use feet. Yards, more in longer distances or bigger distances, like for example the length or the width of a football field or a stadium. So you'd rather use yards. Miles is a little too big, and feet is a little too small for example, measuring the size of a stadium. And then when you need miles, when the distance is much bigger, for example, if you're going to measure the distance between two cities, A and B, the yards might be a little too small, so you want to use miles instead. So depending on the length of the item or the object you're trying to measure, we choose the appropriate unit. That's the American system. Now let's see the metric system. So people, well, here we don't use meters that much, or kilometers or centimeters, but internationally that's the system. This international systems of unit, or the metric system. So let's see some conversions between the basic ones. There are many others, but again, if you know the basic formula, you could convert to larger units. The thing is, they're all based on meter. So meter is the main unit, and there are larger units, kilometers, smaller units, centimeters, millimeters, what is the other one, millimeters, and so on. They're all based on meters. Meters repeat in each one of them. Here in the American system, we use, each unit has a different name, but in the international system, basically, it's based on the same unit, which is meters. So let's say, for example, the relationship between meters and maybe the second largest one, actually, or the closest one to inches, is centimeters. The closest one to inches is centimeters. So let's see 1 meter. So we're going to convert 1 meter to centimeters. And then we're going to convert it to all the other ones, all the maybe kilometers and so on. So a meter has 100 centimeters. The closest to inches from these is a centimeter. It's not exactly the same, but the closest one to inches in the metric system is centimeters. We're going to see all the conversions between the two different systems in a moment, but first let's do each one by itself. So 100 centimeters. Okay, so one meter, or let me just give you an idea. A meter is roughly a yard. It's almost exactly a yard. Not quite, but almost exactly a yard. A meter is a yard. So 1 meter is about a yard, and that yard has about 100 centimeters. Let's also see the relationship between meters and kilometers. So 1 kilometer, which is not equal again to miles, but probably the closest thing to a mile, even though there's a difference between them. But in terms of just roughly, we're trying to see which unit is close to which unit. So this is, they're not equal, but they're close. So 1 kilometer, just see the relationship between one meter and 1 kilometer. How many meters are in a kilometer, if someone is familiar? 1 kilometer, which is a distance, quite a long distance. Like a few blocks. If I had to estimate, I would say probably a kilometer is maybe 20 blocks. That's probably a kilometer. And a mile is maybe, I'll say 25, maybe 30 blocks, roughly, I believe. So 1 kilometer is in terms of meters, because they all have the base unit, the meters. So 1 kilometer is actually 1,000 meters. So now you can see, actually, we said that the meter is about a foot, about a yard. Meter is about a yard. So a kilometer, think of it as about 1,000 meters or 1,000 yards. That's what a kilometer is. So remember that. So a kilometer is about 1,000 yards. So that's the closest, estimation. But again, we'll see how to convert from these to these in different situations. What else? So meters to centimeters, kilometers to meters, and another one also that's used a lot, especially in measuring liquids. If you're doing, for example, if you study like nursing or medical subjects, usually they use. Actually, that's for volume. We'll see that later. Millimeter. So millimeter is too small. That's okay. We don't have to worry about that for now. Okay, so these are the main ones: meters, kilometers, centimeters. There's millimeter, but it's too small. It's 1/1000th of a meter. But let's just see the closest ones to these for now. This is good enough. Okay, so these are the main ones for measuring length in two systems. But again, there are many others. They're based, especially in the meters. There are many other units based on this. But again, these are the main ones. And we're going to compare those to these. So let's convert. Between the American and the metric. So you can see the conversions between those two. It's not the ones that are close, close in value. For example, we said the closest unit to inches is centimeters. So 1 inch. 1 inch is approximately 2.5 centimeters. 2.5 centimeters. Let me give you the exact decimal. So you can get an idea. 254, that's right, 2.5. So when you say 1 inch and someone said something in centimeters and you're not sure what it is, so you say each inch has 2.54 centimeters. So the abbreviation for this unit is centimeters. For kilometers, we use km, like this. And for meters, we just use the letter m. These are the abbreviations for these, so meters. Same thing here for inches, we use in. For feet, we use ft. For yards, we use yd. For miles, we use mi. Okay, from now on, we'll just use the abbreviation instead of the whole word. So 1 inch has about 2.5 centimeters. So keep that in mind. So in case you were somewhere and you're talking centimeters, you don't know what centimeters are, and you want to get an idea in inches, that's what you do. So that's the formula to convert. We'll see later how to convert these using ratios and equations to convert any units to another unit. If you know the base unit, you can convert any one of these to another unit. So inches is the closest to centimeters. Then we said something about the meters. So the closest thing to the yards is the meter. So it's almost exactly 1 yard. 1 meter is about exactly 1 yard. Let me give you the exact value here. 1 yard to meter, or 1 meter to a yard. Exactly, it's almost exactly 1. So 1 meter. Okay, 1 meter, the symbol is M, is 1.09 yards, or just YD. 1 meter is roughly almost exactly 1 yard. So you can take that. So whenever you hear a meter, it just means 1 yard. So when people are talking distances or in a different system, so you have an idea. So if they say meters, again, they're referring to something almost exactly equal to a yard. And what else? And we said also that the closest thing to 2 miles is kilometers. Not equal again, but close. So 1 mile has about 1.5 yards. 1.5 kilometers. Let me give you the exact decimal. 1 mile to kilometer. So 1.5 or 1.6 actually. 1.6, right? So 1 mile. 1 mile equals about 1.6, a little over 1.5. So 1 mile is 1.6 kilometers. I'll show you the tricks, what to do to kind of convert back and forth between these. You can show you the tricks that you can do in your head. You can easily at least get an estimate. You may not get the exact value, but you can get an estimate when someone says, oh, 50 kilometers. So you can do the math in your head and you can approximate that to miles back and forth. And same thing if someone says inches, you can do centimeters and so on. I believe that should be it for the measures of length. These are the basic ones. If you know the basic ones, again, you can convert to any other units, and you can convert between the two systems easily here. So those are the base units. So now let's do some examples. Well, actually, maybe let's finish the units first. Let's finish all the units. And in the second lecture, we will see how to actually do the conversions. Go back and forth between, for example, from inches to centimeters or yards to meters and so on. So that's the length. These are the units of length. If you know both, you would sound smarter in front of people when you go to another country where they use centimeters and meters. So you can kind of, know what they're talking about. You can talk maybe in meters, you can talk in yards. You may not know yards, but you will have to tell them what what unit is in meters. So some people may not understand yards at all, or ounces or whatever. So you have to talk in meters and kilometers and so on. If you go to buy something, for example, if you ask someone, I need whatever this volume. If you say ounces or fluid ounces, they may not get you. Okay, if you say, we may have to say it in liters and so on, and that's what we're going to do afterwards. So that's the length. Let's see weight. Before we move on to the weight, we're going to do a bunch of these also. Any questions here first, everybody, before we move on? Everyone, please let me know if you have any questions about these. Mainly, here it is something to remember, okay? Understand the concept and remember it. So that's the main thing here. Remember these formulas. Any questions, everyone?
No questions.
Okay, everybody else, any questions about these units and these conversions? So these are given like this. You don't have to invent anything, just memorize them. I'll show you how to use them. I'll show you how to convert between any of these with the formula. And also, like I said, I'll show you some tricks you can do in your head quickly to kind of switch back and forth between these. Now let's go to length. I mean the weight. Again, we have certain units here. Other countries, they use other units. So we need to know first the American system, then the international systems of unit or the metric system. And then we'll see how to convert back and forth, just like we did here. So conversion between these and these. All right, give me the units of length that we use here. Start with the smallest one possible. Units of weight, meaning how heavy something is. What is the first unit that comes to mind? The smallest one possible.
Ounce.
An ounce, that's right. Ounce is the smallest one. What comes after an ounce? If you put a few ounces together, what do you get? Everybody, 80, Brianna, Mafir. If you put a few ounces together, what is it?
Quart. A quarter.
Quart would be for volume.
A quarter.
Not there yet. So the weight, the measure of how heavy something is. Volume is different. It's like liquids and air.
It'll become a pound.
Pound, that's right. We have a pound. When you put a few, we're gonna get back to exactly how much. So we have ounces, we have pounds. Anything else you can think after this? After pound? There's one big one. It's a really heavy one. So we mainly use these ounces, pounds. Can't think of any. We don't use stones here. What else? Any other units you might think of after pounds? That's not too far away. Too big. Much bigger than.
Tons.
Say it again.
Tons.
What is it? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
A ton.
A ton. That's right. That's the one I was referring to. That's right. So we use mainly ounces for smaller things. Pounds, we use them pretty much for everything, from people to maybe animals to maybe even some smaller cars or something. But once it gets too big, when it's over 1,000 pounds, it's called a ton. Actually, 2,000 pounds is a ton. We'll do the units. We'll do the conversions in a minute. So we basically use these for weight, ounces, pounds. So if you measure, for example, I don't know, something small, let's say the size of maybe, I don't know, the size of a pen or something, or smaller. So we use ounces. Pounds, you know, vegetables, fruits, even the, I don't know, the weight of humans, animals. But if it's something that's too big, it's too huge, we need to use tons. That's the American system again. What about internationally, or the metric system? What is the unit for measuring weight internationally, or in the metric system? What do they use to measure weight? Definitely not pounds and ounces and ton. Everybody uses tons, but these smaller ones, we have their own. It starts with a gram. Okay, so instead of ounces, most countries, they don't know what an ounce is. They use grams. And again, the international unit, or the metric system, the international unit of units, international system of units, they use grams. In science and physics and everything, they use grams instead of ounces. Gram, then we have maybe a kilogram. And after kilogram, there are other, they also use ton. A ton is also used in both. We're going to see the conversions between all of them. So that's, again, international metric system. First, let's see the relationship between these on their own, and then these, the international one. Then we'll see how to convert between the two different systems. Give me the relationship between ounces and pound. Ounce and pound. What's the formula? Between an ounce and a pound and pounds and ounces, what is the formula there? How many of what is in what? In other words, 1 pound is how many ounces? Everybody, what's 1 pound in ounces? Is
28
no.
is one.
One what? So 1 pound in ounces. How many exactly?
If you said 1 pound, 3 ounces.
It's 16 ounces.
16, that's right. Okay, pound and a ton. Ton has, I believe, 2,000 pounds. So 1 ton, 2 pounds, 2,000. That's right. So that's how much a ton is. It's a lot of pounds, right? 2,000. Let's say 1 ton is 2,000 pounds. And that's basically it. And you can also convert from ounces to tons if you want to. First, you take the ounces, turn them into pounds, then take the pounds, turn them into ton, or vice versa. So that's the relationship between these three. So one kind of links you to the other. Now let's go to grams and kilograms. So 1 kilogram is about, let's see the other. Okay, we did this and we did that. So the relationship between these two, so that's the American system, that's the metric, and the relationship to go from one to the other here is this. We're gonna do the same thing here. So 1 kilogram is about 1,000 grams. So gram is about a pinch of salt. A gram is very small, about a pinch of salt. Thousands of those pinches make a kilogram. So 1 kilogram is about 1,000 grams. And from kilograms to, from kilos to ton, about 1,000. Let me just make sure. So 1 ton kilograms. That's right. It's 1,000. So 1 ton equals 1,000 kilograms. So you kind of get the idea here. So a kilogram. So the closest to ounces here, not equal, but the closest, the smallest one to measure smaller objects. The weight of small objects is in ounces and grams. If they're a little heavier, you know, we use pounds and kilograms. Again, these are the closest one to closest to each other. They're not equal, but roughly, I mean, they're close. Then ton is ton. Ton is the same. So again, everybody should know these basics at least. Okay, so when you convert between pounds and tons, and also internationally, just remember 1 kilogram has about 1,000 grams. Again, a gram is a little pinch of something. For example, a pinch of salt, very small. That's about a gram, really small. So let's see the conversions between them. So we said these two are close to each other. Not equal, but maybe because they're the smallest in each system. So 1 ounce of something. Again, let's use the symbols or the abbreviation instead of the word. So for symbol for ounces is OZ, pounds is LBS, ton is, I believe it's T, or tons, let's say It's a small word, so it's not a problem. Gram is G, and kilograms is kgs. Okay, I'm sure you've heard of kgs before. Kg is about 100 grams. We'll see how to convert kgs to pounds, and a ton is ton. Let me just make sure something. Okay, so now let's convert between, like I said, 1 ounce. So basically the relationship between two, so 1 ounce. Now Z is about 28 grams. 1 ounce is about 28 grams. Let me just double check that. That's right, 28. So again, so you know what an ounce is. It's about roughly the size of a slice of bread. A loaf of bread, that one slice is about 1 ounce. And to put that into grams, it's about 28 grams. And again, gram is about a pinch of salt. So 28 pinches of salt is about 1 ounce. So that's the relationship between some things cannot be measured in ounces if their ounce is a lot heavy, but if you're trying to measure something very small, you use grams. Let's say in the pharmacy, for example, when they measure maybe drugs and stuff like that, so they use milligrams. They use even a smaller version of the gram. So gram is a pinch of salt. It's even a smaller version than of grams. 1,000 of it is called a milligram. So a milligram is very small. Let me just add it here since it's important. Actually, it's used in the medical field and so on, in the drug fields in general. So one gram, you can actually split it into 1,000 pieces. 1 gram, which is a pinch of salt, you could say 1,000 milligrams. So a milligram is very, very, very small. You won't even be able to see it. It's just invisible. So a milligram, and the symbol for this is mg. And the symbol for grams, of course, is grams. Kilograms, we saw that, and so on. So to convert from this system to another, so 1 ounce is 28 grams. Now let's see the relationship between these two. They're close to each other. So 1 kilogram, 1 kg. Does anybody know 1 kg has how many pounds? You hear 1 kilogram, 1 kg. How many pounds do you think there are off the top of your head? Let's say you want to buy a kilogram of fruit or vegetable. How much that approximately? How much you think that is in pounds?
50 pounds?
No, not even close. It's a random guess. There's actually a pretty good estimation to it. One kilogram actually has 2 pounds, about 2 pounds roughly. 1 kilogram is made of about 2 pounds, or to be specific, it's about 2.2 kilograms. Okay, so next time someone said, oh, give me 1 kilogram of something, or you want to buy, let's say you go to the market, you want to buy 2 pounds of some fruit, and the people don't know pounds, you can just say, give me a kilogram of fruit. That means that's about, it's not exactly, but it's about 2 kilograms. And of course, a ton is a ton. We did it here and here.
That 1 pound is equal to 2.2 kilograms.
Yeah, you're right. So 1 kilogram. 1 kilogram pounds. 1 kilogram is about 2 pounds. That would be this. Okay, so 1 kilogram is about 2 pounds. So if someone says, for example, again, 50 kilos of something. So 50 kilos means about 100 pounds. And you can also go backwards. If someone says, let's say 200 pounds, or they weigh 200 pounds, for example. So if you split it in half, it's about 100 something kilograms. So you can go back and forth between these. It's basically multiply by 2 or divide by 2. Not the exact value, but it gives you something pretty close, So you may hear someone, so in Europe, they may say, oh, I weigh 100 kilograms. 100 kilograms, but if you convert that to these to pounds, it's roughly 200 lbs and so on. So, or if someone, for example, says 8 pounds, they need 8 pounds of something. They might, if they don't know pounds, they may not say pounds. They may say kilograms, but 8 pounds, if you divide by 2, is about 4 kilograms. So one way you basically multiply by 2, the other way you divide by 2. If you're going from kilograms to pounds, you're going to times by 2. But if you have pounds, you want to convert them back to kilograms, you just kind of divide that by 2. See, these are the tricks that I was talking about. So you can do these even, you get some estimate without having to do the actual math. So remember, kilograms and pounds. Kilograms are bigger. Each kilogram has 2 pounds. And if you want to go backwards, you divide by 2. Okay, so if you know these, those are enough for everyday stuff, or even for, in the academic or professional world, hospitals and medical field. You can get away, with this, grams and milligrams. There are even tinier and smaller ones, but it's more detailed depending on what field we go into. But for now, again, know the basics of each unit and know how to convert between each from one to the other. We'll see the actual math. We'll see the actual math later. How to make these into equations when you try to convert from one. Let's say we already did it here, but we'll see how to actually do it to convert. Okay, so again, these are at least the ones you need to be familiar with. Just a few of them. There's actually a list of many other ones, but this should be enough to do a lot of things. Basically, once you know these basic ones, you can use them to convert to other units later, depending on what you go into, like your professional field. You may have to use more units. But once you know how to use one conversion, you can convert any unit from another. And should be really easy using there are even calculators now. There's even calculators that do that. Just put, for example, ounces, and immediately gives you kilograms or grams or whatever you want. It's like applications that do that quickly for you. But it is important to know how to do it yourself before we can use apps or phones or calculators to do the math faster. Okay, so those are the units of weight, the basic ones. Again, be familiar with both of them. It's really good, helpful to know different systems. We're gonna go to the next one, but before that, any questions, everybody, about these so far?
No.
Okay, everybody else, any questions about the units of weight?
Yeah, maybe later on, teacher, because I'm still, a little bit twisted.
So for now, this is just to remember these, okay? I'm giving you these as facts. There's no discussion here, it's just to remember these. So if they say, what's a pound, you should say 16 ounces. If they say, what's a gram, what's a kilogram, you should say 100 grams. So this is something that needs to be remembered. And also these, I did not invent this. I'm just giving you these as I know them myself. So know the relationship between 1 ounce and 28 and then the gram. So 1 ounce is 28 grams and so on. So this is purely just a matter of remembering stuff. Later, we'll see how to do the math to convert, for example, 15 ounces to grams or something like that. We're going to see how to do that later. So let's do the next one. Maybe this time the volume. The volume, as we saw last time, what does that measure? What does the volume measure?
Liquid or the container that holds liquid.
Exactly. It measures how much liquid we can put in a container, how much air, and so on. So it's inside. So distance is just a distance, like you use a string or a, what is it, measuring tape to measure distances. The weight is when you put things on a scale to kind of get how the weight or the feel of it, how heavy something else. And the volume exactly is how much you can pour in. For example, bottles and cans, they have different volumes. Some are bigger than the other. So let's see what units are used both internationally and in America to measure the volume. Let's start with here. What units come to mind when we think about measuring volume? Start with the smallest one possible, like small drinks, cans, whatever, all the way to something big. So let's start small. What is the smallest unit you can think of that measures that measures liquid? Everybody, think about cans. Think about buying milk. Think about the smaller things. What do you think of the volume? Think about cooking, measuring how much oil, how much milk you put in things. So what do you measure that in? Just the names. We just need the names of the units. We don't need anything else.
Cup.
Cup is one of them. So let's put cup here. There's something less than cups. There are some smaller things than a cup.
Ounces.
Ounces. We do have liquid ounces. We use ounces for weight. We also use ounces differently. It's called fluid ounces. That's why it says on the bottles or something, it says fluid ounces like this. That means it's not measured for weight, it's measured for volume.
Milliliters.
Liters, okay, that would be the second system, okay? The liters would be the international system, so liters. So this is American system. Cups, ounces, cups. What else? So in addition to ounces and cups. Think about milk again, and what volumes you can buy milk in the supermarket.
Pint.
Pint.
Gallon.
Okay, you can say pint. There's another one.
Gallon.
Think about the milk carton. Not the jar yet, not the jar, just the milk carton. What is that? That's a quart. A quart. And 4 quarts, they make what? 4 quarts of milk, they make the big jar, which is big jug or jar is
Gallon.
Gallon. That's right. A gallon. What else? Is there something bigger? These are good enough. Okay, these are the main ones. Are good enough. There are some even bigger ones, but for volume, that's it. It goes from ounces to gallons. So yeah, we can use gallons for even measuring, like be the volume of lakes or something, millions of gallons and so on. So that's good enough. Ounces. When you say an ounce, you think about, for example, a can of soda, small can of soda. How many ounces does that one have? A can of Coke, Pepsi, whatever.
8.
Not 8. Typical can has 12. A typical can of soda has 12 ounces. 8, you're thinking about a cup. So a cup of anything means 8 ounces. A cup of anything. You may picture now. You can either picture 2/3 of a can. So if a can has 12 ounces, a cup is basically 2/3 2/3 of a can of something. So a cup, this is a cup. Or think about a measuring cup if you use measuring cups in the kitchen. So that's 8 ounces. And an ounce is roughly, I don't know, an ounce actually, this is actually a conversion between tablespoons and cups, I believe it. And ounces, I think it's 3. 1 ounce, I believe, is 3 tablespoons. 2 table. Okay, so 1 ounce is 2 tablespoons. That's right. 1 ounce, 2 tablespoons. And 8 ounces make what we call a cup. A cup is very useful in unit, especially when cooking and stuff. And what about a pint? Okay, we're gonna see we'll see the conversions between all of these in a moment, but before that, let's do the international ones. So we said liter. Even a smaller version of a liter is a milliliter. A milliliter is very small. So a liter, to give you an idea, well, before we get into that, let's just write all the units first, then I'm going to see how to convert between these different units. We have a liter. Anything else? Anything else you might think of when it comes to measuring units, measuring volume in international units? We have liter, milliliter. We have, let's see, cubic meters also. But we'll leave that out. It's one of the, but this is the basic one, the liters, milliliters. That's about it. This is basically the main one. The main one is the base unit is liters, and you can divide it into smaller units, and you can make it into even bigger bigger units. There's also so milliliter, centiliter, and then liter itself. Let me put that first before the liters. Centiliters. And then the liter itself. The main one is this. Again, we can make smaller units out of it, and we can make bigger units out of that. So that should be good enough for measuring volume. And here, for these, before ounces, we have tablespoons. Okay, tablespoons, then ounces. Tablespoon, again, is, let me just double check again, 1 ounce, 2. That's right. So these are the main ones for volume, from a tiny volume, about a spoon or 2, to a gallon, which is much bigger. And I believe that's the highest one we mostly use, even for measuring big volumes, I believe. I'm sure there are other units that, combine thousands of gallons or something, but mostly use these. For liters, the same thing. We use liters or cubic meters, but it's a little bit different. We just stick to liters for now. All right, the conversions. So first, between these two. So 1 ounce of something is about 2 spoons, okay, 2 tablespoons of something. So again, 1 ounce here, cup. The symbol for cup, I believe it's CP. Let me just make sure. Let's see if there's an abbreviation for cup, or do we just write the whole word? I don't think there is a symbol for cup. Um, yeah, I mean just cups. Okay, it's too small of a word. I believe that's itself is the what is C? Okay, C. Okay, so the symbol for cups is just C. Let's say, for example, 100 C. When measured in volume, would be, I mean, cup. For pint, it's PT. For quart is QT. For gallon is GA. GA or GAL, 1 gallon, GAL. Milliliters is ML. For centiliters is CL. And for liter, of course, is L. So internationally, it's all based on this. And this is the actual symbol here for, I didn't want to write the whole thing, tablespoon. So this is tablespoon itself is the symbol. So let's see the conversion. So again, 1 ounce liquid fluid ounce is 2 tablespoons. 1 ounce is 2 tablespoons. Then you have ounces to a cup. Again, 1 cup. What is 1 cup again in ounces? We mentioned it earlier. 1 cup in ounces is how much, everybody?
8 ounces.
That's right, it is 8 ounces. And again, to get the idea of an ounce, think about a can of soda or a bottle of water. A can of soda mostly is 12 ounces. So that gives you an idea of what ounces are. But again, an ounce itself, 1 ounce itself is when you have like 2 tablespoons, not teaspoons, tablespoons, bigger ones. 2 tablespoons, that's about 1 ounce. What about pints? Pints and ounces. 1 pint is, in terms of ounces, is 16. Okay, let me just make sure on that. 1 pint is, should be an, 2 ounces should be 16. That's right, it's 16. Think about like, mostly used to measure like a pint of beer or something. Not 12, not the bottle. Typical bottle of beer is 12 ounces, but a pint is a bit bigger, a little larger glass, 16 ounces. Then you have a quart. Let's see the relationship between a quart and a pint. So 1 quart, 2 pints. Okay, so about 1.5, about 166 is a quart. So 1 of these and a half of these glasses here is basically a quart. Or 1.66 pints. And quarts to gallon. This one you may know. Quarts to gallons. In other words, how many quarts or those cartons of milk you can fit in a gallon of milk? Or what's the equivalent? If you don't buy a gallon,
Or
can buy 4. That's right. 4 of these quarts can make a gallon. Usually it's cheaper when you buy a whole gallon than to buy 4 separate quarts. So 1 gallon is 4 quarts. And that's it. This is the conversion from the smallest to the highest. So again, if we know how to convert from one to another, you can convert maybe tablespoons to gallons. It's a lot of tablespoons in a gallon. but you can definitely find it. You convert first these into these into that, and so on. Or I'm sure there are like there are applications and things that does the job for you immediately. You can just put in gallons and immediately choose what do you want to convert into, either this, and that. But again, these we need to, the basic ones you need to know, okay? At least know the basic ones, because you won't always have access to, you know, electronics and everything. Or if you just, you know, want to briefly talk about a unit, you don't want to pull up your phone or a book just to see how much that is, what it means. So you should have an idea, at least when someone is talking about ounces or pints or quarts, you should have an idea immediately, not having to, you know, like I said, Google it or something. So please know these basic ones. So 1 ounce is 2 tablespoons, 1 cup is 8 ounces, 1 pint, 16 ounces, 1 quart is 1.66 pints, 1 gallon is 4 quarts. And let's also see, so that's basically the American system, okay? Again, we have 2 systems. American. Then you have the international or the metric system. So let's see the relationship between these. So again, the base one is liter, and every other unit is based on it. Liter, they all have liter at the end. Unlike here with the American system, each one has a completely different, you know, name, but they're related to each other mathematically like this. For liters, the international ones are so 1 liter is basically roughly 100 milliliters. 1 liter. 1,000 actually, 1,000 milliliters. So a liter, to give you an idea what a liter is, actually, let's just finish unit. I'll give you the relationship between these and these. 1 liter is about 1,000. So whenever you see a milli or kilo, it just means 1,000. Either you multiply by 1,000 or you divide by 1,000. So milliliter is basically 1 out of 1,000. And when you say kilogram basically is 1,000 gram. Kilo is equivalent to 1,000. Milli is 1,000. Milli is 1,000. So milliliter just means 1,000 of a liter. So 1 liter has 100 milliliters. 1,000 milliliters, and 1,000 milliliters, basically 1,000, like maybe some drops together, they make 1 liter. And 1 liter is 100 centiliters. 100 centiliters. Let me just make sure on that again. 1 liter, 2 centiliters. Right, it's 100. And another useful one is cubic meters. Cubic meters to 1 cubic meter is actually 1,000 liters. That's a good one to know too. You can add that here, cubic. One cubic meter is 1,000 liters. What else? Let's see if there's anything else. That's right. So 1 cubic meter. Remember that. That's also another important one we use to measure volume. In addition to gallons, we use cubic meters. That's much bigger than a gallon. A gallon is basically small. It's about 4 liters. A gallon is about 4 liters. I'll show you how in a moment. But a cubic meter is a lot of volume. That's like 1,000 1,000 liters. And I believe that's all. These are all the main ones, the basic ones. So now that we know the basic ones, again, these you have to remember, okay? I'm giving you these. I'm giving you what they're close to, okay? I'm giving you an idea, but again, these you have to remember. I didn't invent them. I just have to memorize them myself. Sometimes I double check if I forget something, but there's not much here to explain. It's just basically units and how much in each is and how to convert between them. So you need to remember, the names of units, at least a few, few ones here, common ones, and how to convert from one to the other. So we said 1 tablespoon is 2 ounces, 1 ounce is 8 cups, and so on. Also the international ones, it doesn't hurt if you know a few. It's really good, really useful if you know those. So again, here we use these, but other countries or the international metric systems, they use these. So we should be able to make sense of them. So if someone is talking in liters, so you want to sound, smarter than, I wouldn't say smarter, but you want to sound knowledgeable. If you're talking meters, you're not going to sit there and say, I don't know that. I'm sure, I'm sorry, I don't know that. No, it's not an excuse. You would actually impress or surprise people if you know how to do your conversions. If people don't know how to do it, and you know both, so you have an advantage already. So the closest one to, let's see which ones are the closest to each other. So I would say these are almost the same, almost equal. And in terms of, I believe, yeah, these salts are pretty close. These are pretty close. Not equal, but pretty close. So the main one I think you should know here is 1 quart is actually almost exactly 1 liter. 1 quart, which is that, milk carton you see at the market. It's almost exactly 1 liter. You can actually check the label on it. It would say it's very close. So let me give you the exact value. So 1 L2. Exactly. So 1 liter is almost exactly 0.05 quart. That's in all of this, that's the main one. So if you remember just one of these, just that, and you know these, you can convert any unit from here to any unit from here using the base one. So again, visually and conceptually, think about 1 quart is that 1 liter. 1 liter is a 1 quart. So it's exactly how it's the closest. That's the closest comparison of all. Maybe, yeah, these two are pretty close too. Let me give you an idea of this, ounces to centiliters. Those are not equal, but they're pretty close. Pretty close, okay. Let's say, so 1 ounce, fluid ounce, not the other one we use for weight, has about 3 of these, approximately. Not exactly, but approximately 3 centiliters. And we mentioned cubic meters here. So 1 cubic meter is about 1,000 liters, or about 1,000 quarts, because a quart and a liter are almost the same. So 1 cubic meter is about 1,000 quarts. So 1,000 quarts. That's good for measuring, like I said, large volumes. So now this one is pretty useful. 1 liter, 1 quart immediately. Just like we said earlier, 1 meter is 1 yard. 1 meter is 1 yard. So immediately you can make sense of it, liter, about 1 quart. And these are the, conversions between the smaller units. We don't, people use milliliters and centiliters. We use ounces and tablespoons, but you can convert between them using these formulas. 1 cubic meter or liter, that's about that's a lot of volume. That's 1,000 gallon, not 1,000 gallons, but 1,000 quarts, which means that's 250 gallons. This is about 250 gallons. And basically that's all your units. We're probably going to skip the unit of time. You know, the unit of time, everybody knows it. 1 second, 1 minute has 60 seconds, and an hour has 60 minutes, and so on. So that's not a big deal, okay? These are the important ones. So for time actually, let me just briefly write it here. Time is actually international. Yeah, the unit is international. It's the same everywhere. So we have seconds and milliseconds and so on. So, but the main one is seconds. We have minutes. Of course, hours, days. Few days make a week. And a few weeks make what? Everybody, few weeks make
A month.
Make a month. That's right. Few months make
A year.
a year, and few years make. Few years, especially 10 years, they make
A decade. A century.
very good. Decade for 10, and 100 years make. You said it.
A millennium.
Century is first. Century is 100. Yes, millennia. Millennia is for
1,000.
exactly. Millennial. Let me just make sure I get the right spelling. Millennia is 1,000 years. Millennium. Okay, so millennium is like this. Let me double check it. Okay, that's millennium. That's 1,000. So 1 second, minutes, and so on. Month, years, decade. That's 10 years. We'll write the conversion in a moment. Century is 100. Is 100 years. And millennium is 1,000. So they're pretty simple, and it's the same everywhere. It's the same all around the world. That's it. There's no other units. I believe everyone in the world uses seconds, minutes, and so on. But in terms of the other units, each region of the world have their own units. But internationally, for science and journals, and for in the scientific community and so on, they all agree on one unit. Meters, the liters, and so on. So it's international. For volume, use liters. For weight, it's gram. Internationally, it's a gram, and for the length, it's meters. So these are the what we call the metric system, metric or international. So it's all agreed upon, and again in science and so on, they all use metric system, but each country may have their own units like these. For time is the same. Time is about the same everywhere. So we know what each one of these is equal to, except for maybe the last one. So one decade. We're just going to write the last ones. Decade equals 10 years. 1 century is 100 years. And the most important one is this one. So 1 millennium is, of course, 1,000 years. And of course, everybody knows like how many seconds are in a minute or how many minutes are in an hour. Those are pretty obvious, so no need to mention those, but these are pretty important. And that's basically your units. Again, knowing them is better than not knowing them. Not only makes you a knowledgeable person and can, you know, understand things better, but also whatever field you go into, if you're using units, so this will make your life a lot easier. Or if you travel, you go overseas, whatever, so you can easily understand things and be understood when you talk to people and so on. So they're not hard. We just have like a few from each. Okay, so remember the basic ones. Of course, we should know the ones, at least the one we use here. Everybody knows, should know these, you know them well, and know a couple from the international system and the conversions between them. Conversion or the bridge between the two are these and these. So that's very important. So that's what allows you to, you know, understand international units and convert between, you know, our units and the international unit easily. So that's basically so most notably again here, this one. 1 meter is about a yard. It's important. And for grams and pounds, just remember 1 kilogram is about 2 pounds. That's the most important one of all of these. For volume, just remember 1 liter is about a quart. Quart is about a liter. So they're very, very close, as you can see. It's almost exactly the same. And just remember these. I mean, these are also a common knowledge here, but the millennium is 1,000 years, century 110 for a decade. There's another one, generation, but it's not specific. Generation could be 30 years, could be a little more than 30 years, but it's not exact, depending on on times and lifespan and life expectancy or whatever. But they're not accurate. But these are accurate. They don't change. They're just what they are. I believe that's about it. We've talked about a lot of units. In the next lecture, later, second half, we'll see how to convert back and forth using these. Could convert within the same ones, within these, or from one to the other, from different system, from one system to the other. The method is the same. It's going to be basically one formula or one method, equations and ratios that we saw last time. And we just need, of course, to know the basics. We know some basics from each one and also have to convert from one to the other. But there's one method again that can do all of these at the same time. And yeah, like I said, most of these based on, you know, first understand, get a concept of how much is what. For example, when they say one ounce, you know, it's small. If they say 1 cup, about a measuring cup. If they say, for example, a ton, that's a very heavy weight, about 2,000 pounds. What else? When someone says a meter, so have an idea of what that is, what a liter, and so on. What a gram. So when you hear a gram, so again, we gave an idea earlier. It's small, you know, like a pinch of salt or something. So now get an idea of those and remember, okay, most of this, again, you need to remember exactly how much is what. And just know the few, you know, couple from each, and the relationship between them. You can do any conversions. I'll show you later again how to do any conversions easily, using some ratios or fractions or equations or whatever you want to use. So that's pretty much it for this lecture. Any questions, everybody? Any questions about any of these units or these conversions? Please let me know if you have anything about them.
No question.
Okay. Everybody else? The silent majority.
No questions.
Okay, everybody else, let me know if you have any questions about Hey everybody, so let's continue with the units and conversions. So in the second part, so now we know all the, most of the formulas and the units and so on. Now let's see how to convert, let's see how to solve problems involving units. So be number 5, converting. So again, there is one method. It solves all the problems. If I show you one or two, you could do any other conversions. So let's start with a few of these. First, let's start to go into an example of converting within the same system. For example, I don't know, 25 feet, how many inches, or 19 feet, how many yards, and so on. And then we're going to see how to convert between two different systems, from feet, for example, to meters or so on, using, the relationship we saw here, the bridge between the two systems of units. Let's convert within these, for example. As an example would be how many feet are in, let's say, it's 16 inches. So how many feet are in 16 inches? So first of all, you notice what units are we were talking about. So how many feet are in 16 inches? First, you notice the units. So we have feet and we have inches. So you want to find the formula, or you want to remember the formula that links feet to inches. What is it again? What is that formula between feet and inches? How many of what is in what between feet and inches? The very first formula we saw.
12 inches is 1 foot.
That's right. That's right. So 1 foot equals 12 inches. That's the first thing you want to do. So you're gonna write the formula, the base one that we know. Everybody should know. This doesn't change. So that's the base formula. Now we can turn this into ratios. We can use ratios as we did last time to solve problems. So you can say 1 foot to 12. Okay, 1 foot to 12. Then you need another ratio. That's one ratio. You need another ratio. So this side is for feet, and this side is for inches. So we know for a fact that 1 foot is 12 inches. So we write that 1 to 12. Then the other one, the question says how many feet are in 16 inches. So we're missing feet. The other one, we don't know feet. Let's call it X. And we do have the inches, it's 16. So feet to inches, 1 to 12. Then we have X, that's what we're missing. So we don't know this, we call it X. And we say X to 16. So we use what we know, and we use another ratio with the missing number. The rest is simple, we just need to cross multiply to solve this. So we're going to times this way, multiply this way to solve this. So it's going to be X times 12. And then 1 times 16. So we call this cross multiply. So we're going to write the two ratios, we just cross multiply them. So X times 12 is 12X. 1 times 16 is 16. And then you continue solving so we can get the X. We're looking for X with the number of feet. So now we just need to basically divide both sides. Let me just write it again and then divide. So 12X equals 16. So to find X, or to isolate X, we need to divide by 12, divided by 12. So that cancels. So X is 16 by 12. If we reduce this by, I'm going to reduce this by at least 4. So it'll be 4 over 3. And that's approximately 1 point, or it's exactly 1.75. 1.75, and then don't forget the unit. The unit we're looking for here, we're missing. Okay, we're missing feet. So feet and inches, 1 to 12, X to 16, the X should be 1.75 feet. So it works the exact same way, no matter what units are. All these units, you just have to basically put the problem into two ratios like these, or you can make them fractions. But this way makes more sense. So 1 foot has 12 inches. Then we know the inches here, but we don't know the feet. Or sometimes you may have the feet, but you don't know the inches. You put X here. Either way, you cross multiply, divide, and you get your number. Works with every unit. Let me give you an example. For example, here, so we need one of these. Let's do some yards to feet. Or if it's 2 yards, so how many? How many yards are in, let's say, maybe 15. How many yards are in 15 feet? So the first thing again is to notice the units. What are the units here, and what's the formula between those units? Everybody? Everyone, so look at this. First, notice the units, then write down the formula that links to those units, so we can use it to find the missing one. So which formula do we need for this question?
You gotta know how many yards is in a foot, how many feet is in a yard, and it's 3 feet a yard.
Okay, so we're gonna write the formula first. So we notice that we have yards, we have feet, that's right. So there's a formula that links them. So 1 yard is 3 feet. That's the basic formula. Again, this is something that we need to know, need to have. So we can turn that into a ratio. You can say 1 to 3. Again, 1 yard to 3 feet. So this side is for yards, this side is for feet. Then we need another ratio, depending on what's missing. Are we missing the yards or the feet in this question? Where do we put the X? We need another ratio, incomplete ratio. You should have X on one of the ends of the arrow. So where do we put the X? Is it in the yards or in the feet? Based on the question, what are we missing? What are we looking for?
You gotta put in the yards.
That's right. So we don't know the yards. That's what's missing. We don't know the yards. So we can call it X. So we're going to put the X here in the yards. That's what's missing. And do we know the feet? There again, X2. So X yards to 15. So we do have the feet. So, but we don't know how many yards. But we don't know the formula. So 1 yard for each 3 feet. We have 15 feet. We don't know the yards. That's why we put the X here. So the X should go under the yards. So the yards together here, the feet together. Now we just need to figure out the X. We need to basically find X. What do we do here again to find X?
Cross multiply.
Cross multiply. So X times 3. So we multiply this way, and then this way. So X times 3, 1 times 15. So 3X equals 15. Then what do we do again to find or get the X by itself? We need to find the X. Everybody in the class, is anybody else paying attention, or only hear from one student the whole time? Would be great if everybody participated and engaged. So no, you don't learn by being silent and not engaging, and Okay, what do we do here to get the X?
Divide.
Divide by?
Divide by 3.
Divide by 3. So we're going to cancel the 3 from here. So we can find x by itself, which is 5. And what's the unit again? 5 what? What are we looking for?
Yards.
Yards, that's right, 5 yards. So the answer is 5 yards. So how many yards are in 15 feet? That's 5 yards. And again, this would work for any unit. Any new unit you try to convert, you have to have a base formula. First, you turn that into one ratio. The other ratio, you will have one number and the other one will be missing. So you have to put the x in the right place and cross multiply. So one way solves all these problems. So it's the same math. The units may change, but again, it's the same math. So that's how we basically convert. For example, we convert within these. You can actually cross convert between two different metric systems using, again, the relationships between them. For example, we're talking about inches, centimeters, yards, and so on. So let's do some of those. So how many? Centimeters or ounces or whatever it is. Centimeters or inches. My centimeters are in, let's say, 14 inches. So again, whenever you see a question like that, first you want to check out the units. So talking about centimeters and inches and see if there is a direct formula for them. It might be a direct formula, or if there is no formula between them directly, it might be a formula for both of them of something, some other unit, whatever it is. So there could be something between these two and then but between these two. So if there is no formula between them, then you see if there is other formulas that both have a common unit with. So for example, you may want to turn centimeters into some unit and then take that unit, turn it into inches. But if you can find a direct formula between centimeters and inches, then that's good. Do we have one? Do we have a formula between centimeters and inches? What's the relationship between centimeters and inches from what we saw? Let me go back to it. What is the relationship here between inches and centimeters? Everybody?
A mile?
No, centimeters and inches. There's a formula here. You have a formula here that links the two, centimeters and inches. What is it? It's right here, somewhere over here. There is one formula between inches and centimeters, or cm. It's this one. So 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. Cm again is for centimeters. So since the question is about inches and centimeters, we want to write this one down. So 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. 1 inch has 2.54. You want to write that one first. Then you're going to write another ratio. So what's missing in the second ratio? Where do we put the x? Is it on the left side or the right side?
Right side.
Right side. So that's right, we're missing centimeters. So we don't know centimeters, it's x. So it has to be here under the other centimeters. So we're going to put x here. And we do know the inches. So the other side is inches. We don't know it, it's 14. So that's basically the same thing every time. So when you see the units, find the formula between those two. Again, it's got to be one of these. So you need to remember them or have a list of them in front of you. And so one ratio is from the formula. That's what we learned earlier. 1 inch is 2.54. 14 inches, we don't know. So we're going to find x. going to say x equals, not yet, we need to cross multiply first. Start with the multiplication that has x in it. So always start with the multiplication with the x. So 1 times x. And 14 times 2.54. 1 times x is x. And you need times 14 by 2.54. And that's 35. 56. And don't forget the unit. So we're looking for centimeters. So it's going to be centimeters here. So 14 inches is exactly 35.56 centimeters. And that's it. That's basically the answer here to that question. Again, regardless what the units are, there's got to be a formula. Okay, there's always one formula that's given, because if we don't have the formula, we can't solve it. So we have to have a formula, one of these here, and based on it, we can find other things. Let me give you another one. For example, how many ounces?
Date calladita.
How many ounces are in a pint? Again, see if you can find a formula that links ounces to pints directly. Actually, not in a pint, but in, let's say, so how many ounces are in maybe 3 pints? So how many ounces are in a pint? Again, see if there is a formula. If you can find, if you have a formula that links ounces to pints directly, you can use it same way we did. If not, we may have to use an alternative formula. So do we have a formula here that links directly ounces and pints? There's no formula that links ounces and pints. But we have, so pints out here, ounces out here, but we don't have them in the same formula, but they both basically share something. They share ounces, these formulas. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take ounces and turn them to cups, and then turn the cups to ounces. Or let me find maybe a better one. So we don't have a formula directly for these two, but we're going to see if we can make them. Yeah, we can actually maybe turn these into cups. Let me see here, ounces to. Actually, we do have pints to ounces. This is it. Pints to ounces, we can use it directly. Pints to ounces. I thought we didn't have one, but that's good. We can use it. We don't need an alternative formula. So that's easy. Let me see one when we don't have an alternative formula. For example, between maybe between ounces and tons. Yeah, we can find one here. So tablespoons to cups. Okay, let's do tablespoons to cups. So we do have one from here to here. We have one from here to here, but we don't have one from tablespoons to cups. Let me change these a little bit. Change these couple. How many tablespoons are in 3, for example, cups? Okay, so again, always try to find one formula if possible that directly links these two. If not, you may have to find an alternative formula. So tablespoons to cups. I don't think we have one. We have tablespoons to ounces, and we have cups to ounces. So this is the alternative one. They both have ounces in them. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this to ounces, okay? Because we don't have a direct formula, we're going to turn this to ounces. Then whatever ounces we get, we're going to turn into cups. Because we have to go through that. Just for example, if you want to go from one point A to B, there is no direct route from A to B. That's why you look for an alternative route. Maybe go to another point C first, then go to B. That's basically what we're doing here because we don't have a direct formula from A to B, from tablespoons to cups. It's not listed here. So, but we can use an alternative here, in this case, ounces. They both have ounces in the formula. So we can turn cups or tablespoons into ounces, then we take ounces and turn them into cups. So that's what we're going to do here. Okay, so the formula is again 1 tablespoon for 1 ounce. Formula, the relationship between these two is 1 ounce equals 2 tablespoons. And the formula for these two, between these two, is 1 cup equals 3 or 8 ounces. These are the formulas we saw earlier. They're right here. 1 ounce is 2 tablespoons. 1 cup is 8 ounces. So we're going to convert. So we're looking for tablespoons here. We don't know this. So that's what we're looking for. But we definitely can turn cups. Actually, in this case, we need to find ounces first, then turn them into. We do have cups, turn those into ounces, and then we take the ounces, turn them into tablespoons. So this is the first conversion here, 3 cups to ounces. So 1 cup. 1 cup is 8 ounces. And but we have 3 cups. We need to find, so ultimately we will find this tablespoons. But first again, turn the 3 cups into ounces. So 1 cup is 8 ounces according to the formula, 3 cups, X ounces. So solve this. We want to solve this first, make it into ounces. Once we have ounces, we know our formula, this one. We can turn those into tablespoons. So again, cross multiplying 1 times X. So then on the side here, 1 times X equals 3 times 8. That means X, or 1X equals 24. 24 ounces. Okay, so our cups have 3 cups have 24 ounces. Now we're going to take those ounces here. We have ounces, we can turn them into tablespoons. So 1 tablespoon or 1 ounce is 2 tablespoons. And we have ounces here. We do have ounces 24, so that goes here under the other ounces. And we're going to turn that into how many tablespoons? We're going to find this. So let's call that again X tablespoons. Okay, so we just need to basically solve this. Okay, solve this to find X in tablespoons because that's what we're looking for. So again, cross multiplying 1 times X equals, so this gave us that. So 1 times X times 24 times 2. X equals 20 or 40. 48, yeah. 48 tablespoons. So that's the final answer. Again, the idea here, we had 3 cups. we wanted to turn it into tablespoons, but we don't have a formula directly between cups and teaspoons. But we know that we can convert both into ounces. So first we have to turn cups into ounces because we have a formula for that. It's this formula. Once we got the ounces from the cups, we converted those into tablespoons using this formula. So if you can't find a formula directly between the units you have in the problem, you may have to use an alternative unit before you get to the answer. Just like, for example, converting, let's say, so you have cents, we have dollars, and we have what? Let me see if we can give you another example of that. Let's see. Just like here, for example, let's say you want to convert minutes or seconds to hours. So we do know how to convert. Let's say you want to convert some seconds to hours. We don't have there's probably a formula, but it's not here. We didn't write it. So if you don't know the formula directly from seconds, there is definitely a formula for sure. If you don't have the formula between these two, what you can do is maybe turn your seconds into minutes, because we know we know that 60 seconds make 1 minute. Once you have your minutes, 60 minutes make an hour. So that's basically what we did here. For example, here, if we want to convert from ounces to quarts, maybe we don't have a formula here that links these two to this, but we can probably kind of use an alternative unit or other units to get to quarts. Just like I said, again, when you go from A to B, sometimes you may not have a direct route. You may have to do a layover somewhere before you get to your destination. That's what we did here. So if you check the notes and you can't find a formula between tablespoons and cups, look for an alternative formula. In this case, it was ounces. So we had cups and we had tablespoons here. So we couldn't go directly to this. We didn't have a formula, but we turned whatever cups we have into ounces, and then we turned whatever ounces we had into tablespoons. That's exactly what we did here. So sometimes you may have to do that if there is no direct formula. And that's basically it. You can convert any units, anything from here. There is one way. I mean, the math is the same regardless of what you're doing. You can use ratios, you can use fractions if you want, or you can use equations, whatever you want to use. Either way, it should solve all the problems. The only thing that changes is the unit and the formula, 1 to 12, 1 to 2.54, whatever it is, but the method is the same. Turn them into ratios, cross multiply, and find x. Again, you can convert anything if you follow these 3 steps. Maybe just 2 steps. Sometimes you may have to use an alternative formula. So find the formula first, write it down in a ratio. Write the other ratio in terms of x, what's missing, either here or here. Then cross multiply. So turn into ratios and cross multiply. 2 steps to solve all the problems. Again, regardless of what you're converting, but again, know these, or at least have this in front of you when you try to convert. See what formulas we have. Try to remember at least, the first 2 of each, two of each, and how to convert between them. I'll give you a few problems to do by yourself. Any questions first, everybody? Any questions about any of this? I want to give you a couple. Okay, so let me know. If not, I'll give you something to try by yourself now. Again, we have all the formulas again. Just look at them and answer these questions. Same again, make 2 ratios, then cross multiply. Exact same thing. So the formulas are all given to you, and the steps of solving also. So let's see something we haven't done yet. how many ounces are in, for example, 25, or maybe 48 pounds. That's one, and the other one is how many um, 20 pounds are in, let's say, 26 kilograms. And lastly, how many may be how many hours are in, let's say, 160 seconds. Actually, maybe a little more, let's see. I'm going to change this to this. So hours, how many hours are in 7,200 seconds? So this is hours to seconds. You may want to use an alternative unit. So we don't have a formula for seconds to hours directly, but you can use an alternative. I'll give you a hint. You can turn that to minutes first. So we have seconds, maybe turn them to minutes, and then turn the minutes to hours. Because again, there is a formula, but we didn't write it. We didn't have that directly, but you can definitely use an alternative unit. Okay, so we have all the formulas you need here. We have the steps, 2 steps, right ratios and cross multiply. So give this a try now by yourself. Okay, so this is the part where you learn it. If you don't learn it, if you don't try it yourself, you may never learn it. So don't wait again for me to just say everything and write everything as you watch and copy. You need to try it, okay? You need to give it a try. So I'll give you a few minutes to figure this out. It should be pretty easy. Okay, ounces to pounds, pounds to kilograms, and finally hours to seconds. Okay, so work on this. Well, we'll go over this together in a few minutes when you're done. Okay, I'll be back.
You ready for us to answer it?
Just a few more minutes for everybody to finish. Just a couple more minutes. All right, everybody. Let's do this together. what do we do first here?
You find the formula. 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces.
Exactly. Let me write it down first. So 1 lbs. 1 is 16 ounces, right?
Mhm.
Okay. And then what's the other ratio?
You put the 48 under 1 pounds, and then you put the X under 16.
That's right. So pounds under pounds. We're going to do 48 here and X here, right?
And then
And you cross multiply. What else?
1 times X and 14 times 16
Very good.
is
1 times
700.
X. Okay. 48 times 16. So X is 700 and what?
68
68. And the unit is
ounces.
ounces. Very good. So that's what we're missing. That's it. That converts any units you want. Any units you want. You have the formulas. You have everything. Just do this. For the second one.
Okay, you gotta find the formula. 1
Okay.
pound is 0.454 kilograms.
Or 1 kilogram. With formula we had 1 kilogram has. We did this one earlier. 2.2 pounds, right?
Yeah.
Kilograms to pounds. What is it? This one. 1 kilogram is this. That's the correct formula. Or if you go from here back to this, it will be about 0.4 or something. That's one. And the other one would be. What was the final answer you got? What is it?
I did
Like,
a kilogram,
like
and I got 11.8.
11.8. Okay, that sounds pretty good. Yeah. So 1 kilogram is 2.2. We do have kilograms here, so we're going to put 26 kilograms. We're looking for pounds, we're going to put X. 1 times X equals 26. Actually, it should be this. 26 times 2.2. So how many pounds here? It should be this. That's the correct answer. So it'll be X equals 26 times 2.2.
57.2.
That's right. Let's see, 26. That's right, 57.2. And the answer again is pounds. So that's the formula we had. 1 kilogram is this, but 1 pound is probably 0.5 or 0.6 or something. Next one here, we have hours to seconds. So what do we do first here? What do we need to find first?
The formula. And 60 seconds is equal to 1 minute.
That's right. So we're going to turn the seconds into minutes. Once we have minutes, we can turn them into hours. So 1 minute is 60 seconds. But here we have 7,200 seconds. So I'm going to put seconds here. And the X goes here. So we're looking for minutes. We're looking for minutes first. So 1 minute, 60 seconds. X minutes in 7,200 seconds. Cross multiply and find X. X times 60. 1 times 72. So 60X equals 7,200. If you divide this by 60, divide by 60, what do we get?
1 minute and 12 seconds.
72, if we divide 7,200 by 60, we get 120. Okay, we get 120, and that's minutes. So we have 120 Now we just need to turn 120 minutes into hours. You can already see it here. How many hours are in 120? How many hours are in 120 seconds and 20 minutes? So we know that 1 hour is 60 minutes. We have the minutes. We got the minutes from here. So we're going to turn the minutes into hours. So the minutes is here. The minutes are 120. But we don't know the hours. We're looking for hours. That's the main missing number here. So 1 hour is 60 minutes and X hours in 120. So cross multiply to find. So again, X times 60 equals 1 times 120. 60 times X, 120 divided by 60. Divided by 60, X is 2. So 2 hours. So this is a lot of seconds, but it only comes out to be 2 hours. It's a lot of seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like you count it until it's 7,200. It's a lot, but it's just seconds. They add up 2 minutes and minutes turn into hours. So bottom line is there's always a formula. We've given you all the formulas here. All you have to do is put the formula into a ratio, put the other ratio based on the number that's missing, cross multiply and solve. If there is no direct formula between 2 units, there's got to be some alternative formula. So you got to take whatever you have, turn it into something, and then turn that thing into what you're looking for. And that's basically, we did a bunch of units, a lot of them. So that's very important. It's very useful to know those. And conversion is not that bad. It's pretty simple. But know how to do it manually like this. You know, showing the work and everything. There are apps, there are, you know, Google can do everything for you, but you need to know how to do it yourself first without, you know, devices. And to save time, you use devices or apps, not as a, let's say as a replacement, but as an alternative when we just want to save time. But we do know how to do this because a lot of time it's we can do it faster without devices. You can just, if we know the formulas on this, you can even do this in your head. If you know the formulas with experience, you can actually just look at it and figure it out quickly in your head. Devices and stuff may take you longer actually to get a phone or this, look it up, but you can actually do this sometimes in seconds. So it is important to understand and know how to do this. Okay, any questions here, everybody?
Yes, teacher, I'm sorry that I get connected so late.
Mhm.
My Wi-Fi is not good. But what I'm